Stathopoulos and Josh Phegan come together in an incredible podcast, Grow, Scale, Master.
An energetic approach to drive progress, master skills, build strengths and put the strategy back into rapid business and personal success.
Backed by real-world experience in rapid scaling to playing the long-term game of business, it's the story of all the lessons learned on the journey to mastery.
Be inspired, renew your energy and chase the future with Grow, Scale, Master.
Con, this is one of the greatest conversations, and you take inspiration from lots of places, but one of the all-time greats was a guy by the name of Tom Peters, and Tom had a fantastic quote. He goes, "Hey, if you're not going to be the cheapest, then how are you planning on winning?"
Good quote.
And the only way that you're going to do it is by design.
Yeah.
So if you think about that, we had a challenger in Australia, which was, Purple Bricks when they first came, and it was a fixed price as opposed to a fee on a floating number. It was literally very cheap compared to what was actually happening. I think in most marketplaces, it was probably a quarter at a minimum of what Australians probably would have charged in our normal models.
On paper, it was a good model.
And it looked nice.
It looked nice.
But the foundational idea is that literally the negotiator got hit, when they were in the middle of a banking royal commission, and there was a whole series of challenges.
Yes.
But what you realise very quickly is that literally if it was just about the fee, then ultimately that would have massively flourished.
Yeah.
What's really, really clear though is that you don't wake up every morning and go, "Hey guys, how do I be the cheapest real estate agent?" How do we actually make sure that we provide a phenomenal service that's really valuable to our customer? We've got a very clear proprietary approach around what we do with marketing, presentation, styling, design, what you do inside of your McGrath brand about how you pitch inside of a marketplace. And you know that there are cut price competitors down the road, but you don't worry about that because you find the 2,000 plus customers in your sales environment that literally see significant value in what it is that you do. And this is the interesting thing, is that literally how important is it to think about customer experience design? Because most of us are like, "Oh yeah, cool, so I'm going to go to a listing presso," but what are the things that we can actually do that lead up to that point? So I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
So one of our clients, he says, "Hey, so we built," and you've seen this, where there's the pre-listing SMS survey
Yep.
that goes out. So, "Hey Con, I need you to fill this in before I pop out, take 30 seconds or less." He does that. He says to the owner when he's booking the appointment, "Hey, I'm going to send you a quick survey on an SMS. Need you to quickly fill it out. It's really important that you do that." He said 85% of people fill in the survey. Of the 15% that don't, he never wins.
Right.
Of the 85% that do, he wins 90% of those.
Wow.
So when you think about customer experience design,
Yes.
his briefing is leading to a better close rate when it
Yes.
sits inside of the listing presentation.
Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about customer experience design. What is it? How do you do it? How do you simplify to scale? Because you've got some people that are scaling some big numbers in terms of volume. You've also got people that are now climbing, average sale price and doing other things. How important is it to think about customer experience design around what you're doing as an agent, as opposed to worrying about what a competitor's doing down the street?
I think. Look, you got to pick your model, right? And so the low cost competitors have chosen their model.
Yeah.
Which is we can't really comment whether it's good or bad. It works for them. For us, that's not what we're all about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, when you found the model that works for you, then it's all about driving value. It's all about being able to demonstrate how what you're proposing, the strategy, the tools, the resources, the tech, the experiences, the case studies, the social proof, and everything that comes with it. It's really. I'll tell you a really quick fact. On our dashboard, right? We've just put in a new field that talks about the average sale price that we have above our agency agreement.
Okay.
So an agent can know, sitting in a living room, "Hey Josh, look, you might have to pay a little bit more with me compared to the other agents, but I just want to let you know, over the last 150 transactions, I've averaged an 8% increase from my guide." Now, to put that back into layman's terms, that's $200,000 in for at your value. So does that work for you? If I can drive you more value and I can, does it? Yeah. So you get it, right? So I think it's critically important when you're creating that experience in terms of being able to make sure that you can deliver the value, the actual result. That's going to be key.
So this is interesting about like really designing a service. Is it literally what a lot of people do is they keep on adding all the extra things they do, but they're not prepared to actually strip away things that are actually no longer of value.
Yes.
And you've got to be careful you're not adding things that customers don't value.
Yes.
So do I as a vendor need a 24/7 portal that I can log into to see the progress of my campaign?
Not really, no.
So if I've got an agent who rings me every day, that
Correct.
I have a weekly reporting, I have a weekly meeting cadence, within 2 to 3 weeks, I should be sold.
That's exactly right.
And so this is actually the problem, is that then when you often log into a lot of these environments, there's 500 numbers to look at, and I just get confused.
Yeah.
As opposed to Con going, mate, we don't have a second appointment. This is what we need to do next.
Spot on.
And so therefore, from that point of view, when you're thinking about customer experience design, what can you take out that you no longer need to do?
Yeah.
And what are the things that you actually need to add, which is substantial value?
Yeah.
So there was a book called Jobs to be Done, and in it they really spoke about like what are the jobs that you actually need to get done. So a lot of our best agents in your network and others, they're actually really focused on saying, okay, great, Con's got a job allocation, he's got to move quickly, he needs to get his front fence painted, he needs to get the house styled, he needs to get his furniture packed up in 4 weeks' time. When the property's actually been sold, he also needs us to organise his mail redirection, so, and when he's away and during the open for inspections, he needs us to blow the leaves off, because it's autumn and they fall a lot down in his front path. So from that point of view, they're really thinking about what are the jobs that the customer actually gets done. Now, if you're selling a property interstate, Con, what I'll do for you is a quick FaceTime prior to every open home, so the house is presented and ready at the open for inspection.
Yeah.
Hey, Con, by the way, after the open home, I'll give you a quick call, let you know how it goes, but I'll give you a full detailed voice note at the end of the day. And mate, I'll tell you what, each week we'll do a quick catch up over FaceTime or Zoom, just so you can have a run through on how the campaign's going and what's doing.
Perfect.
Now, to me, as an out of area vendor, that is awesome.
Absolutely. Well, I guess you're trying to solve the problem, right, for them, which is giving them the confidence that they've got the best agent that's got the right strategy and also delivering, right? That's the key for this. So I think, the question is, how are you going to win? Design the game that you want to win.
And this is that the customer goes, hey, you're so good at what you do.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
So you've come to some of our events, and one of the things that we do for our private events where we say to people, okay, cool, we actually get you to fill in a pre-survey
did it
around
yesterday.
some of your challenges.
Yeah.
And then we have an alternate one where we also then say, okay, great, what is your coffee order? And also two, what would you like for lunch out of the menu?
Yeah.
Now, the benefit of that is that then when you come to the event, when lunch is served at midday, lunch is served at midday.
Yes.
So we're not looking at, get the menu, this is late, it's going to take time, we don't have this, we're going to have to do this.
Yep.
So we can make sure that everything's there. But what you're trying to do is that literally every single time you go to improve a service, how do you iron out a kink for the customer?
Yeah.
How do you iron out where there's a challenge? And so there was an interesting study that if you go and have a quick look at like all of the different components of a sales process, is this potentially a happy moment, a neutral moment, or a sad moment?
Yep.
And so when you're thinking about that, is like ultimately, is there pressure? So as an example, hey Con, you're a buyer buying a property. I now need to ring you and let you know there's a second buyer who also wants to buy.
Yep.
Now that's not only a sad moment, there's a huge amount of friction. Well, what do I need to do in order to be able to buy it?
Yeah.
So that's like literally, that's a moment that if that's not handled correctly, there's a problem.
Correct.
Or if the buyer comes back and there's something adverse in the pest and building report or the strata report and they want a discount on the price or they want an extra washing machine thrown in or whatever the story is, like you've got to learn how to go to handle those moments that matter.
Yeah, so I like that. That's gold. You got to learn how to say that again.
You got to learn how to handle
the moments that matter.
And so this is interesting.
Awesome.
Is that like, hey, so Con, today's not the easiest call to make. We've actually got a second buyer who's interested in the property.
Right.
My job is to help to put you in the position of ownership. So what I want to do with you is I want to talk to you about what we actually do in a multi-offer situation so you feel fully empowered to know what to do in order to be able to get into a position to own it.
You know what, Josh? I just had a brainwave then, right? You should do this full time.
You're very funny.
But no, seriously, but see, you know what? The question is, how are you going to win?
Yeah, sure.
The genius is in the simplicity.
Sure.
Right? It's just following a process.
So this
Great
is about-
dialogue, being transparent, being real time, giving people information to make really good informed decisions.
So that's about reducing customer friction then.
Yes.
So where are the moments of friction? So like literally imagine that you're there even in a listing presentation, say, hey, Con, I got to tell you, it's really difficult in selecting a real estate agent.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you the question, the more agents you get out, do you think that it adds to the confusion or it builds towards clarity?
Yeah.
And
Adds
so literally
towards confusion.
And so what I got to tell you is that literally here are a couple of things that you're going to need to know. From my last 5 clients, these are the 3 reasons why they made the decision to use me. Quality of advisory, depth of experience, quality of the buy work that we do.
Yeah.
Let's have a look about what we're going to do in terms of positioning. So we've got to learn how to go and tell better quality stories.
Yes, I agree.
Because else you're feature matching.
Yeah, correct.
So, and I think that literally...
And that's when you get into fee comparison, right? Marketing comparison. And
which, if you remember the fee comparison table that Purple Bricks at the time,
Yes,
on the left-hand side, this is what an agent does, and this is what a Purple Bricks agent does, and they tried to match on every component, and then they added like 7 or 8 more.
Yes.
And they weren't necessarily things that Australian consumers actually valued.
Yeah.
At that point, knowing how to negotiate, knowing how to work a buyer, bringing buyers from other campaigns, quality of advisory, knowing what to do to get a buyer up, how to actually run that. They didn't know how to translate when the market was going from literally this position of a falling market.
Yeah.
But yet if they were in a going to peak market, they would have killed it.
Yeah.
So this is the difference that you've got to really understand. Now, customer experience actually really does matter. And what you've got to consider here is that literally simple is what scales.
Completely agree.
So in our office, when you come and see me in Double Bay, we only offer you a bottle of water. So it's Pana now because Fiji we can't get. But the basic idea is that, okay, great, we give you a bottle of Italian water, that's it. We don't offer you a coffee. Because the moment that you started to try to milk macadamia nuts, we were out of that game, right?
Almond nuts.
But the basic idea.
Yeah. You've made it so simple.
Well, but you think
One
about
choice.
how complicated coffee's got. Mate, we're not doing that.
No.
Go down to the barista down the road.
Correct, yeah, and order your
but
own.
you know what? We will give you a water and we will do those things. And so this is actually really interesting about it is simple and it's consistent. So one of the things I think is really interesting is about the Warren Buffett quote that he determines the value of the share of a business based on the brand's pricing power.
Right.
So if the Reject Shop came out with a set of sneakers and it had the Reject Shop on side of it, you would probably think, oh, maybe they're $10 or $20.
Yeah.
If Louis Vuitton bought out exactly the same shoe but it had LV on it, and literally, and they put $1,000 on it, then there were people that would say, hey, that's really good value, I'm going to go and buy that.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing is that literally, if you think about it, Louis Vuitton have worked out a way, and David Jones have too, and I think Maya's about to get into trouble, since they've bought the Just Jeans brands and all of that sort of stuff, that to me, that's lower in perception, and David Jones will now be higher in perception of what they may or may not offer. So there's a saying that brand is equal to customer experience.
Right.
So if you go to a nice restaurant, hey, sir, would you like some sparkling or some still water?
Yep.
I'd like some sparkling. Would you like the Antipodes from New Zealand or the San Pellegrino from Italy? Now there's a choice of sparkling water. What's this happened to your perception on what tonight's meal is going to cost?
It's expensive.
Right, got it. Right? So actually, if you think
I get it though.
Brand is equal to customer experience.
Yep.
And customer experience is equal to pricing power.
100% agreed.
So therefore, from that point of view, what we've got to look at is that how do we actually speed up. And there's an old school saying, the seller will sell when they're ready to sell, but it's your sales process that gets them ready to sell.
Yep.
So one of your agents inside of your brand came to me recently and said, hey, I've had 5 appraisals this week.
Yeah.
And I've got a real problem because 4 of them were downsizers.
Yeah.
And I said to him, well, don't you have
the agent.
I said, don't you have a one-pager that says what to do if you're a downsizer? He said, I've got to ring Con and get that. So that's now what you're starting to think about. We should actually have that.
Yeah.
If you're a downsizer, what are the types of questions?
Do we have that, Josh?
Well, that's that whole thing.
Yeah,
about if you're over 55 and you've owned a property for more than 10 years in Australia, 300,000 can go into superannuation upon the sale.
That's right.
600,000 for a couple.
Yep.
Here are some things that you consider. Would you buy before you sell? Would you just sell at a certain price? Would you sell with a long lease back?
You know the whole idea around this, mate? It's making it easy for people to want to work with you.
You know what I reckon it is too?
Yeah.
Making people feel that it's not your first time.
Yeah, well, de-risking. Mm-hmm. That's the whole idea. I always say this to our team. If you're in the living room, you've already done enough selling to be able to be in that short panel, right? Mm-hmm. Now what it is about de-risking them, picking someone else over you. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. So our job is to work through the objections. It's to work, and really, sometimes fee is really important. Mm-hmm. We've got an agent, not in my business, but in our network, the McGrath one, and she's in a very, very competitive marketplace, right? Mm-hmm. Like very competitive. The first thing that she'll ask them on the phone is, I just want to be really clear, are you after the cheapest agent or the agent that drives the most profit for you when you get a result? Mm-hmm. And it's obviously a loaded question. I'll be like, no, we definitely want that. So when it comes to fee, she's already set it up. So when she comes to fee, she's sitting down with him and said, hey, here's my last 10 case studies. This is what, you get the drift, right?
It's very powerful anchoring. It's like when you're saying to a seller, hey, Con, I just need to let you know, most people would spend somewhere between 0.5 to 1% of the saleable value of the property on the marketing.
Yes.
So if you're expecting $2 million for your property,
it's 20
somewhere
grand.
between $10,000 to $20,000.
Yeah, okay, cool. That makes sense. Yeah.
And so then when you mention 10 or 20, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Experiences that rapidly shaped you.
Right people on the bus, right seats. Jim Collins, think about that a lot. You can tell inside of an organisation whether or not you've got the right people. Are they turning up mentally? Are they turning up emotionally? Are they wanting to get better? Are they in a position that they're really keen inside of the business? And are they in the right seat? So actually given the skills and the capabilities, are we actually getting the most out of those people? And I always say that every single time you have to talk about someone, like in your management or your leadership conversations, then you've got to really ask yourself the question, are they the right person and have we got them in the right seat?
Yeah.
And we've often seen some really good people in wrong seats. And we've also seen situations where we've got a really good opportunity, but because that person won't leave, you're going to prevent future talent from growing up who could actually do a much better job.
I've also seen conversely as well, Josh, where people have outgrown that seat, but the leaders in the business won't let them move just simply because they haven't created that next tier of talent to come up. So essentially then the business becomes frozen.
Something that's changing your view.
Con, this is all about the power of travel. And my dad said to me, he goes, hey, if you want to see the future, man, jump on a plane, go to America, walk through a shopping centre, and whatever's there will be in an Australian shopping centre in 3 or 4 years' time. That was in the 80s and early 90s. I now say to my dad, if you want to see the future, go and spend some time in Dubai and the UAE, and you'll see what's coming to Australia in the next decade.
Yeah.
And this is like literally, for example, at the hotels there, they already have all of the facial recognition stuff to know. This is Josh. He has poached eggs and literally some avocado on the side with a macchiato, and that is like literally delivered straight to your table because they already know that as you walk in.
That is incredible.
And so the interesting foundational concept, like what you think is out there, already exists in a world that's prepared to go and invest, and we're just way underbaked on the infrastructure in terms of customer service and experience.
One thing that's changing my view at the moment is how simple you can make something. So, for example, I went to dinner a couple of nights ago, very nice restaurant in Sydney, right?
Mad invite.
Yeah, well, I thought we were going tonight. You ditched me, mate. But it was so simple, Josh. It was just a piece of grilled fish.
Yes.
But because the quality of the fish was so fresh,
Yeah.
and then the way it was dressed with olive oil,
Yeah.
it was sensational. And it got me thinking, geez, we complicate things when we don't need to.